All right, hello again. This is Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College, and as promised, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the programs that we had for Chapter 4, the one that did and the one that did not use files, and I'm going to rewrite each, and they're each now going to have methods, not just a main method. All right, ideally, if I do this correctly, all right, I'm going to keep my for loop inside of main. All right, so I think that I've got that for loop. This one is going to be different. All right. Okay, what I'm going to have to do is a little sleight of hand here. I'm going to have to open up 5.2. And I'm going to have to copy this one. And I'm going to have to use this one both for 5.1 and 5.2. It'll work much better if I do that. So that's why I am going to do that. So close the project. All right, let's open this one. We got this one opened up. And I'm going to copy that in. So what I have to do is I want to do one without files. So I'm going to remove anything that has to do with files in here. All right, so the throws exception. The PrintWriter, and let's see, all this output file dot PrintLine, and I want to Control F. I want to change that to system dot out. Okay, so this is now, I don't need this anymore. All right, so get rid of that. Hopefully I've gotten rid of all the instances that I had to any files. I should have done that beforehand. I apologize for not doing it beforehand. All right, so now what I want to do is think about it, okay? I've got the following pieces of information in this particular program, okay? All right, I have a first name. I have a last name. I have hours, which are hours worked, rate, which is pay rate, gross pay, which is gross. And I want to print out a bunch of stuff too. So print records and print totals. We'll just leave it like that. So I want to write a routine for each one of these. And I'm going to call it input first name, input last name, input hours, input rate, calculate gross, print record is fine, and print totals is fine. So I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 routines right now. All right. And there's different ways of writing this. So what I'm about to do in here, you might look at it and go, geez, I wouldn't have done it that way. And that's totally fine. All right. So I'm inside of main right here. So the first thing I want to do is, let's see, well, I've already got that name. I want to grab everything out of here that I'd used for name, for first name. So all that. Control X to copy it out. And then at the bottom of my program, right after main, I'm going to have public string input first name. Okay, don't worry, I'm not sure why that's, let's see, add a return state. Oh, that's fine. So, let's see. We'll put string here. String first name equals all that. Boom, 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 boom. Return first name. All right, that should all be okay now. So now I'm going to change this where I had this under in here. Now I just have to say first name equals input first name. And the way I'm writing this, I don't have to pass anything in. Next, I'm going to say last name equals input last name. Oops. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab everything in here that was regarding the last name, and that's going to now go into its own routine down at the bottom, right after the input first name. So public string input last name. Same stuff, so string here, return last name. Okay, it's showing me an error there. This is, oh, I'm sorry, these are going to have to be static functions because they're all involved in main. We'll change that in a later chapter. So this will have to be public static string and public static string there. Now we've got no errors, as you can see down here. All right. This might be a good time to just run the program and see if it still works the way that it did before. We haven't done everything, but we've moved out 2 of the functions that are in here. So run. Enter the first name, Jeff. Last name, Scott. Hours work 40. Hourly rate 10. That still looks good. Should be doing this 5 times. Sandy, Scott, 50, 10. Good. Taylor, Scott, 60, 10, good. Mackenzie, Scott, 70, 10, good. And Chloe, Scott, 80, 10, good. Do I have my final total down here still? Total gross pay, end of program run, total gross pay. Good. That looks good. Clear. So we'll come back and we're going to look at all of this, and again, you get the code, but I've now changed this so that main now is calling these 2 functions, but now I want to do the same thing with hours. So I want to grab all of that information, and I want to say in here hours equal input hours. Oops, sorry. Input hours. And we've got to put that one down here, right under the other ones. So this one will be public static double input hours. Input hours. All right, and we'll have to come down here and say string input string equals this, double hours equal that, and at the bottom we'll have to return hours. Okay, I'm going to write my last routine now that I've got it up here. Public static double input rate. And when we get done at the very bottom, we will be returning rate. All right. Now, don't worry, I've got an error there. I'm going to get that out in just a second. But notice what's happening to my main. It's shrinking. It's calling other routines to do work. That's what I want main to do. So I'm going to get rid of this. and I'm going to say rate equals input rate. All right. And I've got to put all that info in here. So this is again going to say string and double. Boom. Trying to see if I've got any errors. I actually don't need this input string anymore now because I'm doing them individually inside of each routine. So that can be removed, and I've got no errors. Great. And look at how my main is collapsing. All right. So now I'm going to do my calculate gross pay. So I want to again grab all of that stuff in here up through I'm going to do it like this. So I'm going to do a Control X to copy it out, and I'm going to say gross equals calculate gross. All right, I've got to write that. So again, I will need here a public static double calculate gross. Let's paste that in. We're again going to have some errors until we fix this up. Return gross, and let's see, we need our hours, our gross, and our rates, so we will have to pass stuff into this one. So to do the calculate gross, we'll have to pass in hours and rate. Okay, that'll be it. Well, again, we're going to fix this all up in just a second. All right. Double hours, double rate. All right. Here we've got gross, so we've got to also create our own local variable gross. Double gross. We'll set it equal to 0 for now. Okay. Again, all of our errors are gone. That's good. And again, we just keep looking at the ever shrinking. All right, at the ever shrinking main. Could really get rid of the blanks in here. So you see, all that's left now in here is to print out my stuff. Okay, so what did we call this? So far we've written input first name, input last name, input hours, input rate, calculate gross. So we need to call PrintRecord now. And that will be another static down here. Public static will be a void print record. All right, and we just have to grab all of that stuff that we had, unless I pulled it out already. I don't think I did. Or did I? Nope. So we get to grab all of this information here and all of that information. So really everything that we're printing. Control X. And we can go down to our routine that's way down on the bottom here, print record, and paste it in. Okay, we're getting a lot of mistakes now because we have to pass that information in. That's not a problem. Okay. String, first name, string, last name, double hours, double rate, double gross. Okay, now we just have to make it look in the calling routine like this, and then we'll be fine. So, when we called, I didn't mean to call into PrintRecord. So we got to call PrintRecord, and we're passing in first name, last name, hours, rate, and gross. Alright, I still see some errors down here, so let's see if we can fix those. Oh, we've got a problem with our formatter. Okay, so our formatter, where we print it, we had defined our formatter up in main, but we don't need to have it in main. So let's get it out of main, and let's put it where it belongs, which is in our PrintRecord routine. And again, all of our errors are gone. So notice, again, the program hasn't gotten much bigger. It's under 200 lines. But notice our main routine. All right, so main is right here. So we've got our variables in there. We've got a for loop where we figure out all of our stuff. And then all that's left here is to grab this final stuff out of here. All right, so I'm going to grab this that we have in here right now, and all that's in here really is total gross, as far as I can tell. All right. Oh, and I'm printing it twice, which I didn't need to do. So this one here shouldn't be a system.out.printf. This one should be a J option pane dot message dialog. It's a show message dialog, sorry. Show message dialog with what? Null here, and then this. Okay, so what do we have here? Show, remove argument to show message dialog. What doesn't it like? Oh, this is going to have to be, and then the total gross pay, $, plus the total gross. That should fix that error. So now I can grab this stuff right here, X, and after my for loop, what I want to do here is I want to call, what did we call that last routine? Print totals. And print totals will need to have passed to it tot gross. Okay, and don't worry, I get that error because print totals hasn't been written yet, so we'll write that now. Public static void print totals double tot gross. There's that. Again, I have no errors. So take a look at how main has changed. What do I mean? Well, drag that down just a tad if I can. Let's see. Can't get that any bigger. What I was trying to show you, that's all of main. So I'm declaring my variables. All right. Inside of my loop, my for loop, so 5 times, I'm setting the first name, I'm setting the last name, I'm setting the hours, I'm setting the rate, I'm setting the gross, I'm printing out my record information, I'm doing my total gross, and then when I fall out of the loop, I'm printing my final totals. This should look and work exactly identically to the way it did before. Now, let's save this and try to do a run and see if I'm correct. Please input first name. Jeff Scott 40 10 400, good. Sandy Scott 50 10 550, good. Chloe Scott 50, let's make 20 just to be a little different, good. Kenzie Scott 35 and 20. Good. Taylor Scott, 55 and 25. Okay. Total gross pay for all employees at the end, we got that, $43.12 and 50 cents. Let's see if we got the same thing down here now. Oh, I guess I've got it, so I'm printing it out for each employee. So there's Jeff Scott, there's Sandy Scott, there's Chloe Scott, there's Mackenzie Scott, there's Taylor Scott, and there's the total gross pay. So somewhere in here I've got way too many \n's, but you get the idea. Everything worked. So let's talk about how we did this. All right? All right. So I guess we need a new comment in here. This is now Chapter 5. It builds on the earlier programs, including loops, yes. Let's say including loops to validate all data and methods to input first name, last name, hours, and rate. All right, so I've got my comment. Now, what did I put in here that's new? Nothing. Anything in here? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing in there that's new. What I've done, so everything up till line 39, so the first 40 lines of the program are the same. But then I started pulling information out. All of the information that you see right here, so the stuff that you see now that main takes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. That is everything that you see that from line 53 to 167. So I basically pulled 100 lines out of main and separated them out so that each routine has got approximately 15 lines in it. All right, again, I don't know how, but I've again lost. So I'm going to go to Preferences. Again, go to Appearance, Colors and Fonts. My editor text font, which I've been using, Edit. Let's make it 16. Okay, all right. But again, what I have done is I have now taken each variable that I'm either inputting or calculating, and I've got it in its own routine where it's being either input or it's being calculated. Then once I have all 5 of my pieces of information, I'm sending all 5 to another routine to print them all out. Now you'll notice that the first 4 routines, all my inputs, don't require any parameters. None of them do. So let's look at each one of these. The first name, I create a local copy of a variable called first name. So I used the same code I had before. All right, but this is a local copy. And I do the same thing. Validate it to make sure it's not blank, and then return it once I've got a copy. Do the same thing with last name. A local copy of a variable called last name. I could have called it anything. I could have called it LN for last name. It wouldn't matter. This is a separate copy, and then I pass that copy back. I do the same thing for hours. So there's my local input string, and there's my hours. And I pass that back. Notice that the first 2 routines, they're both strings because it's last name and it's first name. So those are both strings. The next two routines are doubles because it's hours, all right, that I'm passing back eventually, and it's rate, which is a double. Now, hopefully, I know I'm going through this very quickly, and this might make your head spin, but take the time to look at the code. Print out the code if it'll help. All right? For the gross. Now, for the gross to do its thing, it needs some information from some of the other routines. It needs the hours, and it needs the rate. So we pass those in. These are actual parameters, hours, rate. Those are hours and rate. Okay, so I'm passing those in to calculate gross, which is down here. And then I'm creating my own local copy of the word gross. I'm still doing my validation of hours, or whether or not the employee worked overtime. There's no overtime. There's overtime. So either way, I'm either figuring out the gross as just hours times rate, or the gross including overtime, then I'm returning that gross. When it sees that value, that return gross, it grabs that value and it stuffs it, literally stuffs it into right there. Then I want to print all that information. What information? My first name, last name, hours, rate, and gross. Each one of those. Okay? And if we go down to that routine where we're printing it, it's the same stuff. And then finally, so that, then I'm saying grab my current gross and add it to my total or my accumulator. Then when I'm all done, print out my total gross. All right, so I went through that very quickly, but hopefully that made some sense to you. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to throw that into my Chapter 5, and then just add all the stuff in there for a, close this, yeah. So I'm going to add all my stuff in there for handling files. All right, so this is giving me errors already, which I don't like, so there's something in there that it doesn't like, and it's down here. Because there's some junk in there, so that fixes that. All right. Now I'm going to have to go in and make some changes when I get done to this, all right, or it won't work. So I'm again going to do a Control A, get rid of everything that's in there, paste that in, and now this file, now my program 5.2 looks just like my program 5.1. They look exactly the same. So I've got to come back in and I've got to add all my file handling stuff. And as soon as I've done that, let's just put it this way, that'll be it for tonight. All right, so now we will have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different programs that we've written. We'll have one program for Chapter 6, I believe one for 7, one for 8, and one for 9, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to go back then and write one for 10 and write one for 11. So we'll have about 13 or 14 programs total out there for this payroll. So yeah, we're beating the payroll to death. All right. And speaking personally for myself, it's a good thing. All right. So what I have are copies of this that I've done previously, but I've gone through, believe me, you'll have to take my word for it, and I made a lot of changes just on the fly, doing different things. So we'll need that PrintWriter again. We'll need to come into main and say throws IO exception. And actually it's not going to be in here anymore. All right. It's going to be every place where we're working with the files. Well, let's keep it in here, and let's see what happens when we do that. Okay. This will be interesting. All right. So we want to do everything the way we've been doing it previously. What I think I'm going to do, and this is bad practice, but I think I'm going to do it anyway, because I may have problems if I don't. I'm going to create my file writer outside of anything. So I'm going to say here, PrintWriter, output file equals new PrintWriter, and again it was called employees dot text. All right, I'm just going to leave it like that. Default constructor cannot handle exception type thrown, but yeah, oh boy. Okay, that's not a problem. We will do it in main then, that's fine. Alright, so I'll have to add it down here. Declare PrintWriter variable. Okay. Alright. And yeah, it says I'm not using it right now. I get that. So, alright. Like I said, this is undergone such changes since the copy that I did to begin with. So it's interesting if nothing else. So. I'm hoping that all I'm going to have to change in here is down here where we have this routine. The system.outs will all have to be changed to output file .PrintLine. I'm going to probably have to end up passing something in here to get this to work, so just please disregard for right now the red things that are in there, so I'll just have to pass that PrintWriter in there. In fact, now that I'm looking at it, could I create that PrintWriter in here? And the answer is I believe so. Let's try it. So I'm going to remove that PrintWriter from there. I'm going to put it down in here. Let me pause for a minute and get the phone. Somebody else is home in my house and got the phone. Okay. So I've now added that PrintWriter, but now I have to say in here throws IO exception. Hopefully that'll remove all of the errors that I have. According to this, I still have a warning, so let's see if we can get rid of that warning. It says we're not using this. Well, we are using it. We're using it down here. So I'm going to do a run, and I'm going to see what happens when I do this. Now, as I did before, I've got to come down into here, and I've got to do a new file, and now I want to do a new text file. Right mouse click, new, untitled text file, and I don't even know if I have to do that. Let's see. I want to do it up here, and I did it before and it worked, so let's see if we can do it again the same way. save as. We want to save the parent folder here, and we want it to be called again employees.txt. And there it created it, so that's good. So let's go back to our program. Let's save again, save everything. Do a run. All right, input first name, Jeff Scott, 10, okay. Sandy Scott, 20. Chloe Scott, 30. Mackenzie Scott, 40. Taylor Scott, 50. All right, and it says my total was $57.50 for all employees. Let's go look down here. Again, I'm going to have way too many. Oh, now it's not printing anything down here. Well, that's interesting. Oh, I know why. Okay, so let's go and look in here. See if we can open it with our, no, I don't want to do a text editor. But with, I don't know what editor I used before. Default editor, I don't know. Well, let's see if we did save anything. So let's copy this file. And I didn't close the file. I would be willing to bet you I didn't put a line in there for closing it. Down at the very bottom of main. No, I should do it at the very bottom here. So I've written everything out, and I should close it. Alright, so output file. Close. I should put that. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of this stuff. It says now to screen, but it's not going to the screen, it's going to a file. And to the screen. Alright, so these I'm going to change back to system.out.printlines. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to try to run it one last time and see what happens. John Black, 10, 20. Mary Green, 2010. Mark White, 30. Kelly Green, 10. John Johnson, 10. All right. Total gross pay is $1,500. Let's see if our record's printed out. There's John Johnson, Kelly Green, Mark White, Mary Green, and John Black. So all that information is printed out correctly. And if the information printed out into our file here, so let's copy that, and let's go and paste it right here, and then let's look at it. Well, there's John Johnson, but it only put one record in there. That is not good. So I'm going to remove that, and we're going to look at it and try to run it one last time. See if we can get this to work. All right. Run. Employee. In fact, let's before, we got to do it now. I've started it already, so employee 1, 10. employee 2, 2020, employee 3, 30, 30, employee 4, 40, 40, and employee 5, 50, 50. All right, so that's all of the stuff in here. So you can see that all worked. All right, it was 6150. So let's copy this file. For some reason, I have a hard time opening it in there. Let's paste it here, and let's open it. It's only giving me my last record. Doggone it. I think it's overwriting it every single time because of the way I've got this written. So it actually is there, but then it's overwriting it from the previous time, so it's not saving it into the file. So it's because I'm creating a brand new PrintWriter right here. That's the problem. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to actually try to create this up in main as I did originally, so it's only created once. So I'll have to come in up here, put my comment back that I took out, create PrintWriter object, and now we're going to have to pass output file into PrintRecord. So this will have to be output file. All right, this is going to look really weird. I've never tried doing this before, but well, you know, what's interesting anyway. We're going to have to add up here so down here where we're printing everything out, that we won't need anymore. So, and we're going to have to say, is it file, output file? I don't know. Okay. All right. It's still showing me some errors. So, PrintLine. The method string is undefined for type file. Doggone it. Well, could it be that this is type PrintWriter? I don't know. Put each one of these on their own line so you can really see what's going on here. All right. It's not showing any errors, and that's always a good sign. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to try to run it one last time. Okay. I got to remember to do that. Number 1, 10, 10. Number 2, 20, 20. Number 3, 30, 30. Number 4, 40, 40. Number 5, 50. Oopsie. I would have blown it up. 50, 50. Okay, that's everybody. Total gross is 5750. That's all fantastic. What I want to do is I want to come back in here and I want to get rid of all those blank lines. And we've got all those blank lines because at the beginning, when I first started doing this, that's where those are all coming from, are those \n's that are in there. And they have 2 of them there. So we're getting 4 of them. So let's see. We're going to have the same thing here. It's going to be really ugly, so we'll do the same thing there. That should clean it up quite a bit. All right, I'm going to try it one last time. Jeff Scott 10 10. Sandy Scott 20 20. Now there's not that much space in there anymore. There's still too much, but not real much. All right. Taylor Scott 30 30. You can see everything looks like it's calculating correctly. Mackenzie Scott 40 40. And Chloe Scott 50 50. All right. 57 50 there, 57 50 there. That all looks good. All right. So now let's look at our file here. So let's copy this. Get rid of the one that's here. Paste this in and try to open it and see what happened. Now I'm only getting the first record. Doggone it. Oh! I love it. I know what the problem is, and I probably could have kept it the way it was before. That's fine. Still have way too many blank lines in here, so I'm trying to figure out why I'm getting all those blank lines. System.out. I'm going to get rid of all these blank lines, even if it runs it together. I'll put. Do we have one? Getting all that too. So that's total gross pay, so I don't need all that. And just leave that there. Okay, I don't need any of these. And that's why that's looking a little funky. Just playing around now with aesthetics. Now, here was what the error was. When you create a PrintWriter object, and I should remember this, I didn't. Remember that when you create a PrintWriter object, like we did right here, if we say, comma, true, what that means is, oh boy, remove argument to match PrintWriter string. Oh boy. It's doing an overwrite every time. Now it's only giving me the first one though, so why would that be? Everything else is working fine. It's been cleaned up. But when it's coming in here, it's opening up that output file. And it's putting in the first record, which was me. This is the stuff that's printing on screen now, and this is the stuff that's printing out to the file. Trying to debug it, and this is what's printing out in our message box. So we're printing out 3 different things. The same stuff 3 ways. But the one to the file isn't working. Oh, I'm closing that file in here. I cannot do that. I think I have to close the file back in main. I think I have to close the file when I'm all done. Could that be what the problem is? Let's see if that does it. No errors. That's always a good thing. Hopefully it's going to look and run a little cleaner now. So run. Jeff, Scott, 10, 10. Okay, let's look at my output over here too. So there's that. Oh well, I'll have to do it this way. Sandy, Scott, 20, 20. Chloe, Scott, 30, 30. Mackenzie, Scott, 40, 40. Taylor, Scott, 50, 50. Okay, there's our final gross pay. There's all of the information in here. It looks a little cleaner now. There still are way too many blank lines, but you get the idea. All right, so that all worked. Now, the only thing that's left to see is if we fix the problem now with our text file. So let me remove the text file that's in there. Oh, come on. I don't want that text file. Okay, so I've removed that. Now let's take this, copy it, take it and paste it, and let's open it. Hey, that's formatted nicely too. All right, first name, last name, hours, etc. All the information I needed. A blank line before gross pay there, but other than that, looking good. All right, so before that last line, this one should have a \n. That'll fix that. So why am I still getting so many \n's? It's for my total, so that's okay. Oh, you know what? With PrintLine, that's the problem. System.out.printline. No, that's not a problem. Well, I think it basically is looking the way I want it to look. I'm just wondering why I'm still getting, at the end of this, so many blank lines between. So after the gross pay. But you know what? I'm going to live with that. So let me move this up one more time so you can see all of it. Okay. So let me clear this and I'll run it again. Last time, run. Jeff, Scott. You work 10 hours, $10 an hour. There's me. Okay, you see me here, you see me here. It's also being written out right now to the file. All right, and I'm going to put in different names so you know that. So, Clark, Kent, all right, 40, 30. There's Clark, Lois, Lane, 20, 20. So there's Lois, there's 3 of them. Lana, Lang, let's make it 15, 15. And finally, Perry White, 50 and 10. All right, so there's his information. 2475 looks good. All right, so the last thing we have to do is just double check. So I'm going to remove that current employees file that was there and try to bring in the new one. In fact, let's see if we can open it here. I just opened it up. There it is. Looks like it's not right now. Did not have my last, didn't have my final total in it. Everything else I could see in there looked fine. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It does not have my final total. All right. So we're coming to the end of this. Why wouldn't it have the final total? That's my question. The answer is always in the code. This line is, oh, it's because I took it out of here. There's nothing sending that to the file. So I need to grab this line right here, copy it, paste it in here, and this has got to say right there, output file dot, and I should be able to use a .printf in there. That's for printing the total, so I either have to pass that in, so I guess I do have to pass that in, or I'll have to use this line and write this line up in main, which I really don't want to do. It's kind of scummy to do that, but it's, I don't know which is better. Alright, so print totals, total gross, but if I want to also write it to the file, I have to do this. Alright, so save one last time, run. In fact, let's again, let's clear out our console. And I'm going to move this up so I can hopefully get as much of this in here as possible. Run, run. Bob Jones 10 10. Mary Green 20 20. Ken Clavin 30 30 30. Mike Williams 40 40. John Smith 50 50. Okay, I've got my ending line here. So let's copy this. There's my total there. Boy, oh boy. Been a long day. Alright, let's paste it in. Let's take a look at it. Bob Jones, Mary Green, Ken Clavin, boom, 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 boom. Total for all employees, 2750. That'd be 43, 52, 56, 57. That is correct. All right, that was a long, long lecture that is now over.